We won't be doing this in isolation, and we're not here to audit anybody. We're really here to do this in collaboration, as Josephine said, with the Home Visiting Alliance services and with all the home visiting services. And that's why your representation here today and your voice is so important. Okay, so now I'm going to hand over to Sinead. Thanks, Sinead.
Thanks, Deirdre. I'm not sure how I gain control of that.
I will maybe stop sharing. Yeah, I think IT. Now, I think, can you get control there?
Yeah, we are.
Right.
And for people online, if you want to explain how you've already done that, Grant.
Sorted.
The rest of us can just talk here.
You sit back and relax. Okay, let me just catch up to. One thing we noticed when myself and Patrice, when we've been looking at this, at the moment we're kind of going through the literature. So I'm looking at the international literature, Patrice is looking at the national literature, and as I said in a meeting last week, we're nearly bald with tearing our hair out because the language, depending on the discipline people are coming from, they're using the same words but meaning different things, or they're using different words but meaning the same things. And we're just, you know, we actually had to get the research librarian from Maynooth University to help us to figure out how can we find the conversations where people are talking about the same thing but maybe using different terms. So with that in mind, we also, both myself and Patrice are particularly interested in diverse childhoods, diverse homes and families and neighbourhoods. And when people, when you talk about homes and families, people kind of have that, you know, 2 parents, 2 children in a house kind of idea. So we wanted to start the conversation in that, look, there are many different types of homes, there are many different types of families. There are situations that, as home visitors, that you are stepping into that we're not familiar with, and we'd like you to bring that home to us and let us know what we should be looking at and what types of homes and families are you coming across that, you know, that we're not thinking of. So we're very, what I always say, we know what we know, and we're very aware we don't know what we don't know. So the more you can share with us, the better, and hopefully we can share. But I'm sure you're the experts in the field, so what we want to do is, this is what we're doing at the moment, examining the national and international literature about the effectiveness of the home visiting programs. What we've noticed is that there's some very dispersed programs out there, and there are some evidence-based programs out there. So what we're hoping to find, so obviously we know who we know, and we're trying to find who we don't know and what we're doing. And there's a lot of services calling themselves home visiting, and we're kind of going, well, do you go in once to the home? Do you go in several times, once a month? Or, you know, what exactly is a home visitor and what is home visiting? And that's something that we'd like to, over the next few months, work out with you guys in particular. So Patrice at the moment has the wonderful job of building the picture of what home visiting services in Ireland are like at the moment. And so she's building profiles of the ones that we know, and we're trying to reach out and find the ones that we don't know to build models and profiles of them. So if you can imagine, we have loads of different jigsaw puzzles, but when we opened the box, the pieces went flying. So we're scrambling on the floor to find the pieces that we can't see and that we're missing. So we want to find appropriate, and this is the most important word in that aim that we have, appropriate ways to measure the effectiveness of a service. Okay, and the only way we can know what's appropriate is by working with people who are actually working on the family and working on the ground with families that can say, that won't work. This will absolutely work. Myself and Patrice are very interested in kind of culturally appropriate, situated knowledge. You know, when you're working locally, sometimes you're given frameworks, and what we envisage is a framework that you can work within and use your own professional judgment. You know, I think that's going to be the best of both worlds, whereas trying to put something on someone doesn't necessarily meet every situation. So again, this is where we would really value your feedback and input. We're going to find out if it's possible or practical to examine and agree options for standardizing. So again, this is why the first one, the appropriateness, is so important, because we can't standardize without room to use your professional situated knowledge. So this is so important to us that, you know, we're not just plonking a recommendation of something that isn't going to work. So again, we always say, and I know that Professor Sinead McGilloway is constantly, you know, saying to us, it has to be in collaboration, it has to be, you know, in partnership. So the benefits, I mean, we're preaching to the choir here, but what I find really interesting is that this, you know, you can read them there. You all know that the positives and benefits of it. But for sustained benefits of school and academic success and long-term reduction in interactions with the criminal justice system, they are particularly for boys. They are huge benefits that we're seeing in the literature, both international and national. So this is something that I know the department kind of pricked their ears when we said that, because we don't understand why it's just boys. You know, there is a lot of, you know, kind of interdisciplinary theories there as to why that might be, but it's something that we'd like to explore further, and there's some things that are coming up that we'd like to look at. I've lost. This is my slide. I'm not sure if yeah. Okay. I didn't learn this. Yeah. It's funny when you learn the numbers 6 to 11. I have to do slides 6 to 11, but I'm like, there's no number on the slide. And so we found out that it basically breaks down into 5 areas. So as you can see, they're quite separate and distinct, but yet they're quite integrated as well. So the first area is health, disability, and nutrition. A lot of breastfeeding, a lot of kind of going in and modeling, you know, good nutrition, nutritional values. The second area is the care and development of children, emotional development, physical development, language development. And then 3, early education, literacy, numeracy, language development again. The 4th area is kind of the parenting, role modeling, mentoring and well-being. The stress levels of mothers is something that comes up a lot. And what's interesting is we're noticing that there's a lack of focus on fathers, which we'd like to have a look at. And the 5th area is in strengthening relationships and roles in a family. And in particular, the international evidence is telling us that this is preventing abuse, all different types of abuse, getting in there early, being able to flag situations that actually go on to prevent emotional abuse, physical abuse, neglect. So what we are really interested in are these 3 things that we've come up. And for us to particularly the relationship. So if it's a good relationship between the home visitor and the families that are receiving the home visitor service, the quality of that relationship is actually leading to the quality in the outcomes for families and children, which I think is really important. And this is something that we'd like to explore more. You know, how can we strengthen that quality? How can we model what we know is working? The need for cultural and contextual knowledge. I think this is our kind of this is the one that we're most interested in. You have to be able to use your professional situated knowledge and go into families and services, you know, and settings that okay, if I do it this way, it will work. Whereas if I use that approach on another family, it won't work. So there has to be room to use your situated knowledge, and it's proven in the literature to be really, really important, to be more effective. So we're getting better outcomes when culture and situation is taken into account. Screening. Sorry. So screening is equal to more economic gains. But we want to be careful with that, because what we're saying is, yes, okay, so some of the literature is saying if you screen families before you put them in, you will get a higher level of economic gain. However, if you go to the 3rd point, does one size fit all? No, it doesn't. So this streaming sliding scale of targeted intervention, does it leave gaps? Are people missed? You know, are people, one thing we're looking at is maternal in particular stress at people coming into their homes, and that suddenly they're rejecting the visits because they feel like, you know, well, who are you coming into my home and telling you what to do, and you think I'm not doing this right? So this is something that we're interested in. Is the kind of the sliding scale, is the streaming, is it culturally appropriate? Is it situationally appropriate? So this is something that we're researching more into. Little is known about service coordination. So we don't know who's working with who. We don't know if people are working with their public health nurses, with TUSLA, if they're working with the local schools, and if they're joining in mental services. And also there are varying definitions. So again, we come back to language, and this is something we emphasize in the department hugely. Language is a real stumbling block for us. Because what does quality mean? If I got you all to write down your definition of quality, you'd probably give me back, 20 different versions of what quality is. So this is something that as a sector, that you guys need to come together and say, this is what we agree quality is. And we're going to base it on evidence. And we're going to also be culturally and society situated. Okay, I think that's really important that there's some terms that need to be agreed by you guys. And again, what sort of evidence is rigorous and what sort of evidence is being used to underpin all these claims. I think that's where you take over, Patrice.
I know these ones. Okay, so that's kind of the international seeping into the national context. But what we do know, and again, I'm preaching to the converted and the choir here to a degree, the national context of the home visiting service and home visiting in general is very ad hoc, and particularly, so we have the top 5 and you guys in the alliance, and it's all very much evidence based, and we know that, and it's wonderful. Then we have the other guys we don't know an awful lot about. We're kind of going, okay, well, what's happening here? What are you doing? How are you doing it? But because of the ad hoc nature, some of them are very kind of academic, and we say academic in a sense that it's kind of, building provisions in around language and learning, and then we have the stuff that's in around kind of, parenting and provisions around, abuse and neglect and all of that, and the collaboration between both, and it's all very, very ad hoc and kind of almost jumping and fluid. What we want to know is, how is that happening? How's it happening on the ground? How's it happening at a systematic level? But how's it actually happening as a home visitor? How do you decipher and how do you decide how to approach a family? How do you get to a point of making a decision around what a parent or a child needs? Another thing that really jumps out to us too, and it's is the frequency and duration of the visits, and the social inclusiveness or inclusivity. A big bugbear of mine particularly is around the geographic definitions in around home visiting. So these people need it, but these people across the road don't, because they fall into a different catchment area. And that's where the gaps really fall. Because you can come from over there and be grand, and you can come from over there and not be grand. And this is a big, big issue, is if people are only getting service based on their area code, who's falling through the gaps, but who's being targeted unnecessarily? That affects funding, it affects the provisions of funds. If you're targeting specific geographic cohorts, well, is it money wasting? We don't know. We want to figure this out. But also, if we're not targeting everybody, children are the ones who aren't getting service, and that's the big issue here. The middle of Cavan or Longford or wherever you may be, can you access a home visitor? That's we all kind of, I'm sure we can all pretty much answer that question sitting here. Also the links in regard to kind of the more culturally inappropriate quote unquote services in around kind of say travellers and the Roma community and direct provision and all of the people who may be in need of additional service and assistance. How are they being targeted in terms of home visiting? Are they available to them? Do they get any service? Because that's a big question. We just don't know. We know a little bit. It's a secret, but we'll tell you at the end. But it's really important that we're looking at every cohort of society. It's really, really important. And then we want to look at kind of the links in regard to kind of the wider healthcare and other services. So again, Sinead was kind of talking about the public health nurse and, TUSLA and, the hospital. We were having a chat there. It's how do people get into and active in a home visiting service? How do you end up on that list? How does that happen? Why does that happen? Can you put yourself forward? We know that in some services you can put yourself forward, but does it count? Does it count if you put yourself?
Yeah, goes everybody.
We just
take them off the street.
These lips, isn't it? We want to know at every level how can you avail of service? Who's available? But we know again that's quite ad hoc. It's very much service dependent. And then funding. Funding is a huge concern, because if funding is pulled, the service is unavailable. Who's funding? How are they funding? Why are they funding? And where is the funding going? And again, we're not here to kind of, this isn't a kind of exploratory investigation around how we're going to save money or anything like that. This is about figuring out what happens if funding decreases. How do we maintain the management of our children, our communities, and how do we save people in every aspect, all of the communities, if there's no money to do it, and what happens if that money just disseminates or disappears, basically, which can happen. Like we were discussing the fact that one of the services are kind of funded by Google, and then some is by Chooslet, and then some is by this person, this body, and that body. And if you're funded by lots of bodies, if one funder pulls out, what do the rest do? And it's really, really ad hoc. Then we're looking at kind of key factors, particularly in the national context, in our governance. That's just wide open. And then geographical spread, as I said, that's massive. It's a huge concern for me, particularly because I'm looking at the national literature, and it's very concerning.
Yeah.
The gaps, particularly in around geographics. Then service objectives, what do they want? What do they get out of it? Who wants what? Big questions. And then the role of the home visiting practitioner. The thing is you guys, without a home visitor, there is no home visiting service. That's just, there's no question about it. But what is your role? What do you do? What do you think you do? What do you think you're supposed to do? What does your manager think you do? What does your manager think you're supposed to do? That's like so. Nobody knows what happens when you cross somebody's door. You don't know what you're faced with. You don't know who you're seeing, what you're seeing, how you're seeing it. You don't know when you leave a home how you're going to deal with that. How do you deal with that? How are you as a home visitor supported? It's really complex, particularly in the national context. And then in regard to, again, funding revenue and kind of the streams of motivation, sometimes there can be queries around what is a home visitor's motivation? What is the systematic funding motivation? Why is it all happening? And again, this is not just going, ooh, what are they doing here? The big fat red pen coming out. No, I don't like that. It's very much just to see and to analyse and to find how we can create a wonderful service in a way that it already is, but it's expanding. Again, our intentions is how we find other services who are identifying as home visiting service. It's really interesting. So my search has been like Googling. Google can go down the rabbit hole for like 5 hours and go, whoa, there's a home visiting service. It's 3 lines on a website. That's it. So what is that home visiting service? It's associated with something else, but what is that home visiting service? What are they doing? How are they doing it? Why are they doing it? We don't know. So that's basically what we love your assistance here. If you guys know of any, companies or groups that are calling themselves home visitors, that identify as home visitors, that's something we'd really love to know and to see, particularly in the national context. What training and supports are available to you guys? Do you feel that there are adequate training and supports? Particularly, training and supports can be separate and they can be a combination of things. There can be localized training and supports, there can be peer training and supports. Are you relying on each other? Are you relying on your next line manager? Is it kind of systematic? Can we pick that apart and figure out what's working here? And that's really, really important. And again, without you guys, there is no home visiting service. So you're the ones who are going to really fundamentally drive what we get out of this, and then you get something back from that, so your voice is really, really imperative here. Another question, our initial kind of observation is, are there areas where home visiting or home visitors are picking up the pieces for systematic gaps in national agencies?
Do we want to list?
Yeah, we guess.
We try to word this very diplomatically.
That could take over the rest of this workshop.
Loads and more.
Yeah.
That's why we gave you an online link for afterwards.
That's a really important question. Dealing with other people. Are you dealing with other people and then people on top of them?
We're the front line.
Yeah.
You talk about front line, we're front line.
Yeah.
Hope and show that to the extent,
Exactly.
and homelessness here, you name it, we're front line, speech and language intervention,
Even just going on to your point in regard to homelessness, one of our first questions, and it's funny, like we're a bit into it and keep going, what's a home?
Yeah.
What's a home?
Yeah.
Who defines what a home is? I was only chatting yesterday, so I was reading some stuff around prisons. And it's like, so families in prisons, some women are in prison, their children stay with them.
Yeah.
They receive service in relation to parenting. Is that a home visiting service?
Yeah,
I personally would think yes. I think that's her home. That's her
Yeah,
current residence.
Yeah.
It's where she's living. It's where she's raising her child.
Yeah.
It's where she's going to get educated as a woman. Also, men in prison.
Yeah.
I've been educated in relation to parenting. That's their current home. They may not be engaged with their child, but is that a home visiting service? But also they're going to go home to a child. How does that link in? What is the link there? What's going to maintain that? And these are the big questions that we're wrecking each other's head on. What a home visiting service?
Oh, we got to separate it. When people are separated, which home does the visitor go into? And why?
Yeah.
Do you know?
Actually, another question is, which has happened to us here, where somebody is in direct provision or say emergency accommodation, but you're actually, somebody else is the gatekeeper for their home. And I mean, we had a situation here where somebody was refused entry into accommodation, and they ended up doing a home visit in, I'm not saying home visit, it's accommodation. Do you know what I mean? So we call it a home visiting, you know, and since COVID, outdoor home visiting has become huge because sometimes you're not let in. And
but even like you speak about the gatekeeper, and this is something I was only talking to you about again recently, is like the grandparent gatekeeper. The grandparent manages the children, the grandparent gets the home visiting service, but the parent needs the service. How does that happen? And then there's a father there. And where does he come into the mix? Because it is a child provision. It is around the child, but if only one member that's who's a that good person, how does that distribute? How and these are the big questions. Probably far beyond what we need to be talking about today, but they're like this is the level that we're going to.
Like I said, bald.
But it's again going back to that question: are there areas where the home visitors are picking up the pieces? And these are the areas that you're picking up the pieces, because if you're seeing the dad one week, the man the next week, the granny the next week, what's the child getting there? You know, how is that service being delivered? And then kind of this is really, really important. Again, this is me screaming for the third time. I think you guys, your voice is just so imperative here. Please get involved with us. Please get involved with the informal conversations and meetings. Drop us an email. Give me a ring if you want to have a mad chat.
This is in your review rather than in home visiting. So just make that very clear.
This is in the review. Also, there's the anonymous and online surveys, and on the bottom of this, there's a link. And if you guys have anything that you want to say anonymously, because again, it's there's sometimes you'll have something that's burning you, but you're like, who do I say that to? Say it to us. Again, we're not doing this. We're not trying to nitpick at anything. If we don't have the knowledge, we can't research it. And knowledge is the part we don't know. And we'll be doing focus groups and discussions, and we will be doing larger workshops for our home visitors, the Alliance.
And I also think that we could sit here and talk for the next 2 years about home visiting and the work we do, but unless you see it in practice from the different services, it won't make sense to you. You do need to be out with our teams and seeing what we're doing on the ground.
That is kind of when we head into the stages. There's lots of stages to this, lots of stages. And again, we are going to be involved at the end of this. But very much like we are the ground runners. We are the ones who are going to be really, really focused on kind of the doing. And then
Donegal is a great place to visit.
We're just waiting on an invitation.
Do you know, believe it or not, I was in Greece 3 days before.
Really?
Swear to God, we stayed in the Wide Atlantic.
Oh, right, across the way.
So I know the drive. It's tough. So what we're going to do is I'm going to run through some questions that we have for you guys today.
Can I just see, is there any comments from online?
No, we're okay.
Okay.
So we're going to run through these questions, and then we're going to run into breakout rooms in a little while. But I'll go through the questions now for you to kind of ponder and have a little think around them. Okay?
They're also written on the sheet on your table.
And again, you can answer them. We're going to do the workshop here, and we're going to go through, but you can answer them if you want to send us some private answers, by all means, and anonymous. It's completely fine as that. So the first question is, what home visiting services are you aware of outside of the Home Visiting Alliance? That being the Community Mothers, Infant Mental Health, Life Start, Parent Child Plus, and Preparing for Life. The second question, are there any community links and agencies, for instance, MEHL or the Community Disability Team, and all of the other ones that you aware of, and that are available to help you to support children and families? What training is available to home visitors? And are there supports available for you when you need personal or emotional supports? What do you think is a good, quote unquote, home visiting service? What do you think it would look like? What are the characteristics of an effective home visiting service? What are the characteristics? Particularly in relation to delivery on the ground, staffing, management, governance, and quality and assurance. And then, are there any other areas in which you'd like us to look at? And we could talk about that today as well. And any additional comments? We want to hear everything. Whatever you guys have to say, we want to hear it.
On the bus on the way home, you know the way you go, oh, I should have said that. This link, and it's all anonymous, so you can just pop it in. We don't know who was thinking about it at like 12 o'clock tonight after Graham Norton. So anytime, this link is open until the end of the project, right? So it's open for the next at least 6 months.
And can I just say, in terms of our international colleagues here,
Yeah.
I'm sure you'd be delighted if they know of home visiting.
Oh,
I know there's some in Sweden, Italy, in UK.
All the way across in the UK.
In 6 weeks or 3 months or whatever, and you come out of someone's house, and you try to make that phone call, and you just don't know what am I supposed to do next. That's when we'd love to hear that. Or
I'm
like,
sorry, they have to ring their coordinator.
Yeah.
Yeah. After you ring your coordinator. And no names, no identifying information.
But you know what I mean? Just when you're just kind of going,
Yeah.
I wish I could share this. Oh, that should be on the news. Do you know, like, if you could just give us that information, even like yourself, Josephine, if you're just kind of going, this is something that needs to be said. We can hear it, and objectively, we want to get that on
Actually, the thing
paper.
that's coming into my mind is a home visit that somebody went down to, and there was an armed raid by the Gardaí on the house at the same time. And do you know what I mean? What do you do, and how do you ensure the child is protected?
Yeah.
In terms of that situation,
And then what do they do after? Like, you're a home visitor, you've encountered that situation and you've dealt with it in the best way you can. You rang your coordinator. That night when you're at home and you're dealing with
Well,
all
we
the
offer
feelings.
employee assistance.
Yeah.
So they always,
Yeah.
But are
There's
there
a process.
places that don't,
Well,
that's
there
what
could be,
we're
I
looking
don't
at.
know, but we would definitely, like, nobody's left on their own and
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, we would have employee assistance, and we also provide clinical supervision, but it's very much budget dependent.
Yeah.
So some of us can do it and some of us can't.
Yeah.
Or you may offer it and then you have to reduce it because the budget is
Yeah.
hitting towards the top mark,
Yeah.
And that's the thing, that's the fluidity of this. And that's why I hate to come back to money, I hate to bring it back to funding. That's why obviously we kind of go, like, it's not about money,
Yeah.
but it is about
But
money.
it is about.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
But that's,
Like, if you look at the service level agreements from TUSLA, clinical supervision, we are obliged to provide clinical supervision, but there's nothing in our budget to actually do it. So, it does come back to money, unfortunately, at the end of the day.
and these are the things.
Yeah.
These are
All
the
about
things.
the
you know.
money. All about money.
And I suppose in terms of NCI pays for the employment assistance and HR stuff.
Yeah.
You know.
There's one little home visiting service that police found out of nowhere after 5 hours on the internet, more than 5 hours a day. But what was, it was just, it's a service that were kind of like, oh, now hang on, what are you doing here? Because they're offering culturally appropriate parenting in culturally appropriate Irish parenting, and they're going into parents who aren't Irish.
So it's a
We don't know who
migrant-
funds them. We don't
it's
know
a
anything about
migrant
them.
service, it's
Yeah.
a migrant service, and they basically teach parenting half and half Irish style, if that makes sense. It's kind of like,
how to be Irish.
not that they're teaching them how to be Irish, but they're teaching them how to parent within process.
I blended in society.
Yeah, exactly.
But they're people
to come and teach me how to be Irish. I learned that.
But you see,
I took what I wanted from Irish society.
it's in direct provision centres. So it's people who aren't been exposed.
They're not being
Very
exposed,
much when you're in a direct provision centre.
Do we actually have to search them, see if they're doing right or wrong?
That's what this service is doing. That's a question. We're like, what?
We don't know how do you identify who needs these parenting mentoring sessions.
But the home
and who
visiting
doesn't?
mentors are people who've gone through this program that's been put together by somebody, and they've devised this program, and then they create their.
We have to protect these cultures. We can't take
Exactly.
somebody's culture away from them.
Exactly.
You know, what we have to ensure is that they know the laws within Ireland,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
but we have to protect culture.
But then we don't. The thing is, it could be the most amazing service.
Exactly.
And this
Yeah.
is the key. They
Yeah.
could be doing the
Yeah.
most amazing job. They
But we
could.
don't know.
We don't know.
Yeah.
And this is what we're talking
And
about.
can I just say, in terms of the feedback we get from families, it's what they really appreciate about our home visiting service is they're treated as human beings,
Exactly.
not as a person from
Yeah.
any country in the world or anything like
Yeah.
that. That everybody is
Person.
equal and that they're there as a granny, as a mother, as a parent, not as
Yeah.
you know.
As a model, as a whatever.
Yeah.
There's a couple of pieces, just as
And no
couple of
Sorry,
comments.
it's just adding that no program is going to work unless the relationship with the home visitor and the service user is not good.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's that
Yeah.
relationship part again. That's, you know, in relation to quality.
There's a couple of pieces just coming through on the chat. So Anne-Marie O'Muraku has said that she completely agrees in terms of the geographical targeting, especially today with the lack of social housing and the amount of families living on half accommodation. Francis Chance has come in and said it's really important that we aim for a universal approach to home visiting, offer it to all with the capacity to deliver more intensive support with families with additional needs and extra challenges. Catherine is saying she agrees and agreed and appropriate training given for working with complex needs, and that does seem to come up all the time. Because the complex needs are so individual to the person that you're working with, it is very difficult to plan or train for that. And I think an awful lot of that is around confidence rather than training at times, you know?
And sorry, Michelle, can I interrupt you then? Because I know Mary and yourself, this came up in terms of our last webinar.
Yeah.
Is the fact that if, like most of them go for the PTAC early childhood level 5 as a base, but now they are being, I don't know what's the word, to actually do their practice in early childhood centres, and they're not accepting their practice as home visitors.
I literally brought that up with the department.
This is going to really offend us. It's like really serious, and we really do want to bring it up on government level.
Yeah, it's the QAB process, is to make sure that all of the degrees are doing the same thing. So it's the standardising of the early childhood degrees, and it makes sense that because we have so many disparate. Sorry, that's my area, is early childhood education. So we have so many disparate degrees and little courses here and there, and people were including modules that weren't, relevant, and So what they've done is they went through a QAB process to make sure that everybody's doing the same thing. However, yes, this has occurred to me only because I've lectured on the courses, and I was thinking, well, how are they preparing people to go into homes? Because it's a different thing to prepare you to work in a centre and then to prepare at home. And actually it was only when, and I've designed a degree that's being rolled out at the moment, and I had never looked at the question, what about, what even about nannies and childminders who are doing these courses? We're not preparing people to enter homes, which is a completely
And
different
even more than that, I would say with a lot of the early years degrees, because we do an awful lot of training with the college in Donegal and with early year services, there's not enough training around family support. There's not enough training around child development. If we're going into homes, we need to understand children's development. It's not been covered appropriately in third level qualifications. So to actually put home visitors into that sort of a scenario, it's going to be of absolutely no benefit to them at all.
And I'm going to throw the cat amongst the pigeons because you guys brought it up. What if they did the same thing? So we're 12 years on learning from these lessons in early childhood, right? 2010 kicked it all off. So we're 12 years, we've got lots of learnings. What if the department came in and said, home visitors have to have this qualification?
No problem. If they have to have level 5, that's no problem. In the early years. We based so. In our conversations, and I know the Home Visiting Alliance, it depends on the home visiting programme, but I think for everybody, level 5 is a minimum.
But would it be in home visiting, or, you know, because we're
Well, at the
just-
moment, there's nothing, I mean, when we started, there was nothing in home visiting. So
Yeah.
it's early childhood care and education is the one that's provided in local communities. So for us, we would give our home visitors an opportunity to engage in that while also working. Do you know, but other programs, I know, Preparing for Life and Lifestyle, they would require level.
You need a degree. But it's a much wider, it's a wider range of degrees other than just.
And would the degree be social care or?
Social care, social work, we have a range of people in different experience with different
See, this is the thing.
And then we have those cohort of staff that, like, I have staff that are working with me for 15 to 20 years that are so experienced.
Yeah.
You know, and they came in, and we do need to develop some model. They don't need to go back to college for 2 years or 3 years. They need something that's going to qualify them. You know, they're actually training up graduates that are coming out of college. You know, because when they come to us in Lifestart, in our service in Donegal, it's 3 months before they go out in the ground with a family. So they get intensive training with us before they even set foot into a home.
This is what I was just speaking briefly to you there about, Susan, before we started. Sinead's going to kill me for using the word, the bane of our life, the professional versus the paraprofessional.
Absolutely.
How can anybody say that somebody who's entering your home to deliver a service at such a complex level isn't a professional?
Yeah.
How can you degrade someone's ability? Although a professional education is absolutely imperative, it's a big question for us. You've got people who worked as home visitors, particularly in the community, mothers, as volunteers for years and years and years and years.
That's situated
It's
knowledge.
not situated knowledge.
If they were to go into a college course, they would be ORPALT. They'd have recognition of prior experiential learning.
Yeah.
But these at level 5 doesn't recognise that.
No, but can I also say that I think that there's a huge amount to learn from home visiting programs from the perspective of how it could inform a curriculum in education to prepare people to work with families, full stop. So that whole space in early childhood education where how do we engage families, how do we bring families in, and how do we build capacity? There's a massive piece of learning from the home visiting perspective that could inform that whole area.
Particularly from the broad spectrum, when we look at things like addiction, abuse, neglect, the differentiation between what they are considered. Again, going back to that geographic, I was having this conversation. You could be abusive, but it's not recognised because you're not wearing the uniform of an abuser, you're not wearing the hairstyle of an abuser. How are these things managed? How are these monitored? And the people who are monitoring these things are home visitors. And this is the thing, you can see things, you can see beyond the wall that the cloak that people wear. Sorry.
Just a few more online, just to get a balance of it. So Sue Cullen is saying she thinks it's very critical that home visitors engage in continuous professional development, a capacity building that is inclusive of coaching, reflective supervision, action learning and peer support. Trish Hurley's come in to say there's a need to focus home visitors to perinatal stage to support the emerging relationships between parents and their babies. This support offered as early as possible where parents are more receptive or accepting. And then Frances Chance has come in and said, key to families are inviting the services into their home, their personal and private space where their family life happens. It's so different to centre-based and clinic-based work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think whether someone has a degree or not is only one aspect of the recruitment process. And it's certainly something, you know, the communication, the relationship pieces, for us, the first piece is a degree, but there's a whole lot of process involved in choosing the right person and then once we have them, training and supporting and ensuring that all those other pieces are in place. A degree doesn't guarantee that they're a good home visitor. There are lots of other pieces there. For our program, it's important for us. But it's only one piece of selecting the right person and supporting them.
And it wasn't to disregard the importance of it, particularly with specifics, because your program delivers a very different service, and that's the key to it, is how the services, and that's what we were discussing, the ad hoc nature, and the relevance and the quality of it, you know, and how that's differentiated, and the importance of it. But the question is around how is that going to become universal? You know, and is it realistic for it to become universal?
I think in the training. Can I say something here? Am I being heard? Yeah, I'm on Zoom here.
Who are you?
Marie Nahan. No, I mean, I just want to kind of probably reiterate a lot of what's been said, because for me, the initial training is just the very basic foundation for starting out, and it's ongoing supervision and support and mentoring. Now, I know it's been said already, but to me, I mean, qualifications, it's been said, it doesn't really, they're important, but they're not the be all and end all. It's the ongoing experience and the after visits, what's necessary to, so I think investment in ongoing supervision and support, I'd be putting my money.
Yeah. I also think that nationally that all of the programs, all home visitors should have infant mental health training. I think that's key, and it should be embedded into the college degrees, everything else. It should be paramount because it's about relationships.
Yes. Yeah.
A basic level of infant mental health awareness and training.
I think you're so right, Jill, because I suppose working in Cork, we do feed into the curriculum in colleges, and when the students hear about infant mental health and the importance of the early years, they light up and it makes sense. And I think when they go into practice and they understand how the early years are so important, it sets the framework for what's happening next and makes them more compassionate practitioners. It's definitely anyone working with families. I feel it's a fundamental need to really kind of build that strong foundation, because it looks at the self as a practitioner and how you are. It looks at the relationship between the caregiver and child, and it looks at that separately, those separately as well. So it's really, it really is the foundation, and from there everything else works. The concrete assistance, the advocacy, everything else, because you're building the trust. Yeah.
And I also think it's about the person. I mean, community mothers initially, way back, we were volunteers. Now all of community mothers, we were the first to employ community mothers. And I think that training and that experience grows through the years. And it isn't about having the college degree and the piece of paper. It is important. They all started on the level 5, but now have built up a huge amount of skill and learning, and have done social care degrees as well. But it's getting, as I think somebody said there, the right person, the willingness to be open and to be able to meet with families where they're at.
That's great. Oh, sorry, Susan.
I just wondered, thanks so much. Great presentation so far, and great to hear how open you are to hearing everything as well. I just wondered who else you're speaking to, because some of the questions you posed there today were predefined prior to programs getting involved. So things like geographic spread, services are funded based on somebody else's decision, not on that decision. So that's one thing. And then in terms of what other programs are out there, obviously, again, baby questions that like 60 coordinators, child and family support network coordinators, PPFS managers, would be, would have that breadth of knowing what's going on locally, beyond what, obviously, I'm sure people will throw in what they know here in the room too. So I suppose the question is, who else is involved, and who else are you speaking to get that breadth of
the department have been great. They're connecting us in with the CIFCs, the county childcare committees. We've even asked, using my background, if a mail shot could be sent out to all of the early childhood settings across Ireland, because they're generally the first people, especially with the free preschool scheme, they're generally the first kind of professional service that families will engage with. And so someone, you'll ask your sister, who'll go, oh yeah, no, I'll ask the girl in my crash. So they know of places too. So we're using the Bronfenbrenner model, and we're basically going from the child all the way up to international governance. So we're looking at every level that we can, and we're reaching out across, we're using all the networks that we have available to us to reach out to as many voices as possible. But definitely the department have been very helpful with regards to the county childcare committees, the CIFCs, And things like, you know, the Children's Rights Alliance, organizations like that would know of pockets of things going on that may not necessarily have a web page. They might have like a little Facebook group or.
I think the majority of services are funded through TUSLA.
Yes.
So the PPFS managers and the child and family partners are really crucial. So, you know, and in terms like just back in 2017 when we did an initial review of the Community Mothers Programme, that's where we found services that we never knew existed.
And the thing is, like the scoping aspect of those, finding these little niche ones, they're the ones that are completely off the radar, and that's, you know, they're the ones that are nowhere to be seen, and that's where we're doing that as well. So we're doing it at a really systemic level, but we're also we're trying to keep it as wide and broad, and that's again going back to the question of why it's on the ground. It's because there could be, you know, a little community group somewhere that's not affiliated with anybody, who's just doing something. They could be doing the most amazing things. We'd like to know about them and what they're doing.
And it also comes back to this is I know we keep harping on about it, but language. When people call themselves a home visiting service, or when people call themselves a home visitor, they use that language, and they may not necessarily mean what you mean, or you know. So again, there has to be an agreement on what is a home visiting service, what is a home visitor, because this is what's leading us to all those little groups as well as to the kind of the big organizations and at the different levels of governance and services.
Chance just wants to come on.
Yeah.
Francis, if you want to chat.
Yeah, just to add to Susan's point there about the sort of the different connections. The public health nurse is the universal service who links with absolutely every family, and it's probably the first port of call for lots of home visitors. So I think linking at a national level with the directors of public health nursing would be important. It's interesting to think about the public health nursing service that it used to, when I started out in practice quite a long time ago. It used to be a home visiting service. Most of the public health nurses' work was going out into the family home, and it's gradually contracted and moved back to be more and more and more clinic based. But I think there's a piece there about encouraging the other services. Maybe not to be a total home visiting service in the way we're talking about, but from time to time to actually go into the family home and see the family on their own turf and see and work with them and talk to them around their immediate context.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, look, we're
Sorry, I just want to follow on from Susan.
It's just beyond.
I know, yeah. Just one point I think is very important for this is that Susan mentioned about that a lot of the services are funded through TUSLA. A lot of the services should be co-funded through health promotion and the HSE, and that definitely needs to be chased up.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
That's a crucial part of any going forward.
Yeah. And that's, I know I went back to there earlier on, that's issues like where's the money coming from? What happens if the money's not there? And, you know, that's the big question, you know, it affects everybody from the ground up, you know.
But they also have two different remits.
Exactly.
So it's aligning those remits.
Absolutely.
The motivation, that motivation. I don't want to hold you from your coffee. Sorry, I don't want to hold you from your coffee because that's really important. But before you go to coffee for 10 minutes, so on the tables are the sheets, and I know online, Michelle has already provided the questions in advance, and also I think Deirdre is going to drop in the link to the.
The link is there in the chat button, Sinead.
Perfect. So if you're online, it's in the chat function. Just pop in the link there, and it should bring you straight in. If it asks you for a code, it's 188-423-542.
And it's on the bottom of those questions.
It's on, So if you're in the room, also what we're going to do is you have pieces of paper. For those in the room, you have pieces of paper. So just stay at your tables, or if you kind of want to move into groups of 5 or 6. And if you can answer one question to one page, and we're not looking to see who's writing anything, right? So if we ask for one person for you to nominate one person from each table, or for one person from each online breakout room to read back the comments, the answers to the questions. You can also at any stage, Deirdre's monitoring that app, you can put stuff up there, but also there are little sticky notes on the table. if you have a burning question or comment or anything, just write it on the sticky, stick it on that whiteboard as you're walking out. Okay? Okay. No, yeah, have a break. Yeah, go, yeah. Oh, the online break, people can go into the ones, yeah. Deirdre's online now.
Sorry, Mary.
Somebody other than me. I was governance.
And are you going to
Two in there. Stretch graduate. I was, but we're not. I think it's a small old there, don't we? Yeah. See what happened was there's no home visitors in that area. She had nothing available. So we don't have any new homes. Yeah, I think. Have you been on to
okay, I couldn't get to everyone. Like literally.
Never met her. No. They were singing your praises. Yeah, because I had other kids out. No, much of the town there. She was very good. And then I I'm always like, I make sure I say that. Sorry? Like to ring them down. Yeah, well, I try to like yeah, but I put the baby and the other child down and
you've got somebody going in.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah. Hello, welcome. And I'm glad I'm okay. Take your time, right? I knew that you wanted to everything is online, you don't have to Yeah, I like the colour. I was thinking, yeah. This is a group that's a setup. Social care workers, but right, so that's like when you're ready, there's a seat for you. You can sit down there, but get yourself different. Sorry. You're very welcome. Yeah, sorry.
You only get one home visit, you don't get two.
So far, really engaged with the everybody's been so engaging. So great conversations. They're delighted actually because they were just saying that it's actually one way. So you come from England somewhere? You're lovely, and you're over just for the conference? Yeah. I see already started. It was. I know you've been very bad for the last week, I'd say. Yeah, so really, I think whoever came over from all the countries today just set the sun shining. Yeah, so that's great. Like, sure, we'll give you a couple of places. Yeah, it's so lovely. I saw the birds even in town that was lovely food, and not too dear, technology in terms of. Are you going to go? Innocence, yeah, I think. And you know what?
Are we meant to link into the link that was given by Deirdre at 10:36? Does anybody know?
Hi, Francis. Yeah, perhaps we are. Sorry. I'm trying to see now. I can get in. There's supposed to be a link in the chat, isn't there?
Sorry, Marie 9 here. I haven't seen any link.
Yeah, neither have I. I just can't seem to.
Oh, hi, Marie. We're going into breakout room soon. You can hold your questions until afterwards, it says.
It's just a little, I'm just looking at it there. It's just a little bit of upward, up in the chat there. Deirdre Ford put it in. So I presume it's just clicking on that link and using the session ID, is it?
Just to let you know, we're going to put you into breakout rooms now. They're just random, so you'll get a tag saying click on the link. And then there's a link that was put into the chat, and we'd love it if you could put some of your comments into that. So there is a link in there. I'm going to read.
Sorry, Michelle.
Is that Michelle? Michelle, will you put us into it automatically, or do we have to do anything?
Oh, I'm going to do it, and you might get a notice saying go into the room and just click on it.
So
yes.
if one person in each room online takes the notes, the answers that you as a group decide to each question, and then you can use the link that Deirdre Ford has put into the chat to put up your answers when you come back. So if one person can take notes in the breakout rooms online. Is that clear?
Okay, so we're going to go into the breakout rooms now. So if you please go in, we're going in for how long? 30 minutes, and you have hold of the questions. They're on the screen anyway, but we would hope that you have them as well, okay? So they're the questions that would need to be asked. Okay, here we go.
Hello, room 5.
let me see.
How'd you get on? You get through last night?
Great, I got 32.
Great.
Which is huge.
That's
more
loads.
than I've got in any session.
Yeah, well, I mean,
That
we
was
knew there was
brilliant.
going to be a lot of them
Thanks
here.
a million.
And they're the people.
Yeah, and I
They're
missed
all
a few,
local
but
people,
pure
like.
Dave, like. But yeah, that was it. And then I managed, what was great is I managed to get couples. So I got the guys to fill it out as well, because most of them were like, no, she'll do it. And I was like,
It's pregnancy up to starting school. Up to about 5. So 5.
Because I think that's brilliant.
Pregnancy for the like or the baby, when the baby's born up to 6 months, a parent can join.
Excuse me.
I do think personally that should be lengthened.
Yeah.
Because we have people who are coming to us, babies 9 months, 10 months. You know, I don't think they should be not offered the program just because their child is 3 months older than our cutoff point. Because sometimes they're very needy. So we would offer baby massage, baby stay and play, triple other suite programs, circular security, mindfulness for parents.
Okay, here we go. The one who's projecting out like that. Okay, thanks guys. We got good and bad news. Good news is now you talk to us.
Okay.
You only have 15 minutes to do it. Determined that we're finishing on time. So I'm not sure we're going to get to all 5 questions. We're definitely not going to get to all 5 questions, and we're not going to get every group. But we are going to collect your pages, and we are going to ask you to use that app. Have any of you tried it yet? No. No? Okay, you should be able to go in. There's a little, when you go into the web page, there's a little kind of clipboard at the right-hand side with a red dot. Click that, and that brings you into the questions. And I think there's an unlimited word count, but I need to just double check that with Deirdre. But also my email address is there, so just feel free to send me an email with any other thoughts and comments and whatever you want to send me. Readings. Anybody got Taylor Swift tickets? No. So because we've only got 15 minutes, let's go with the burning, the things that you really want. You're hopping out of the seat to tell us. Right? And can we get? I know you're not. If one person from each group, rather than, I don't know. That's probably the fairest way to do it. Yeah.
Hi, I just got knocked out of somewhere. I don't know. I just ended up out of the loop.
Okay, does anybody want to go first?
Actually, Sinead, I don't mind going first because I have to run to another presentation after this. So if that suits everybody.
Thanks, Deirdre. If you could just introduce yourself.
Sure. Deirdre Ford on the UNITES project. I met many of you this morning at the introductory presentation. So yeah, in our breakout room, so we filled out the VVOX survey. I will say that the ladies that were in the room with me had much more expertise in terms of situated knowledge about what's happening on the ground. So I hope I represent you, and feel free, ladies, to jump in if you want to elaborate on anything that I'm saying. But just in relation to question 1 there, what home visiting services are you aware of outside of the Home Visiting Alliance? So one of the ladies mentioned the FAME project. So Family and Child TUSA service that visits a family when they're in very difficult circumstances. So for example, they gave an example of a case study of a family who did not meet the criteria for preparing for life, but there were queries around child protection. And the mum also was said to have low capacity or found it difficult to parent. So TUSA tried to access parenting classes and play therapy and so on for the mom and the children. Also, other agencies mentioned there was I think PCP Plus, but that's I think we're aware of that one from the Home Visiting Alliance. Okay, and then the second question, are there any community links agencies available that help you support children and families? So I think really what we spoke about there more so was the slow turnaround when a family is recommended an actual service, and then sometimes they cannot actually access the service, or there's a 2-year wait list, for example. And the ladies did mention that TUSLA, when TUSLA is involved, they often manage to get quicker access to the services. So some of the services mentioned, for example, were mostly disability services, speech and language, access and psychological assessments and so on. Also, Carafort services was mentioned in Westmeath, again, where mom needed a lot of support. So Carafort actually supported the mum while the home visiting service actually, addressed the needs of the children. So really it was found to be very complementary. South Dublin County Partnership was also mentioned in terms of providing very practical support to mothers in terms of trying to get children out the door on time in the mornings, for example. And then the third question, what training is available to home visitors and are there any supports available? Again, mostly level 6 pedagogies and curriculum in IT was mentioned, level 7 NCI, and then obviously training webinars by NCI on neurodiversity, for example, last week were mentioned.
Home Visiting Alliance, not NCI.
Home Visiting Alliance, sorry, Josephine. And then what we didn't really get through the next question. We didn't have enough time, but in terms of what do you think a good home visiting service would look like? We were just in the middle of talking about staff turnaround, gaining trust with mums. So often that's impacted if there's a high staff turnaround. So that's an issue. And then we were pivoted back into the conference. So that's as far as we got, Sinead.
Thanks, Deirdre. That was great.
You. Thank you. I'm going to do a Cinderella on it now, and I'll have to leave actually for 12 o'clock.
Thanks a million.
Thank you.
One online here from Group 3 from Francis, and he says the importance of covering from pregnancy to age 6, not only from birth. Attitudes as well as qualification,
sorry.
You go. Rather than me calling around. Come on, Francis.
Okay, so attitudes as well as qualification important in recruiting home visitors. A lot of discussion about the supervision that staff get and comparing what was happening in each of the programs, and that's absolutely key to the work to delivering a quality service. Just given the history we were talking about within the Community Mothers Programme, we felt it was essential that both the HSE and TUSLA play a joint role in funding and supporting services, that it's not a one or the other, that they work together in an integrated way. And I just two of us had been in a previous group, and then we were shifted groups. So I missed earlier comments. So if there's anybody from the group wants to add any earlier comments before I was joined, and apologies to the group I was thrown out of.
Thank you for that. That's really interesting.
Do a few in the room.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. I just I would like to just draw on so the pre-pregnancy or from pregnancy to 6. And actually we're kind of looking at the first 5, which is antenatal. That's the language, antenatal to 5, which is an interesting shift. So it's only just occurred in first 5 as opposed to all the other previous policy that came before. So it's good to get that feedback. Maybe these 2 tables down the back have been very quiet. So does anybody want to go with one of those?
Yeah, I can go. So we actually spent a bit of time first talking about, because we have 2 colleagues from Sweden, the UK and Italy. So what happens over there and what happens here. So that took up a bit of time, but we had more ideas for question 4, I suppose. What's a good home visit service? So we have evidence-based, starting early, definitely the pre-birth. Non-judgmental, that relationship-centered piece was really important. To be flexible, adaptable, and needs-led as well. And our colleague from Italy was saying that, you really need to speak to the parents and find out what their needs are, rather than assuming you know what they are and developing your program then based on your assumptions. Cultural awareness came up a lot. Diversity and inclusion, children with additional needs. Home visiting a typically developing child as opposed to a child with additional needs, it can be quite different. And that led into the other question about home visitor training and support. We actually spoke as well about staff morale among the home visitors and trying to keep kind of a low staff turnover, keep home visitors very satisfied in their job, so that you're keeping these really amazing workers, these experienced people, and that they're valued within their services. And we spoke about actually for home visiting services, the home skill liaisons that go out and do home visits and skills. So, yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
About this table?
The first question, and I just heard of this the other day. Moms is a home visiting program that I heard of. Mothers on a Mission. So
where is it on?
It's in Bluebell.
Bluebell, okay.
Yeah. And then a colleague from Sweden was explaining that every family gets one visit and then they can avail of more, and the nurses, social service, oral health all come together as a team and work together.
So it's kind of a wraparound service?
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, do you want to just, you're the Swedish reference?
Yeah.
Ah, yeah.
Eurovision we have here.
Well, all families in Sweden, when you get a child, get a home visit from the, I would say the public health nurse in this context. And what I was saying is that there's a project in our university, which are working with an extended program to about home visiting.
We might
where that would be more of the social services, the oral health, and the public health nurse, and they all come together in this. And maybe you know more about this.
Yeah, it's like an intervention that they run it for 15 months. And,
Yeah.
Then it's a 6 visits, and then they follow up with questions. But it's more like a one-time thing.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So do you want to?
It's a bigger program. It's from Stockholm, and then it's implemented in the south of Sweden now. So
Okay.
they're trying to find out.
Okay, very good. So I'm interested in talking about how you scale it up and replicate it from Stockholm to here in Malmo, is
But
it?
we are not
We
being
are not
that,
working
actually.
with that. But we work with another kind of model.
So if you know those people,
Let us know.
This table over here, you guys have been quite talented as well. I'm gonna pick on you. I always pick on the silent tables, sorry.
So just question 3, what training is available to home visitors and are there any supports? So we have a very good support network here, I find. Every week we have our weekly supervision, and we also once a month we have a small group that we can meet up, and it's very supportive of one another. Our training is fantastic as well. We have our level 5, 6, 7, and that's all funded for us too. We also have an inclusion group that we do once every month, and that would be for our families that would have additional needs. So the girls that are going out with the families, we all try and support one another, and different scenarios that may arise within that month, and we can try and flesh through. And it's great, it's fantastic support. And the ideas that you pick up, and you know.
Sorry, that's just something that we were interested in, these ideas of like communities of practice, you know, how do you guys talk to each other?
Yeah.
If you don't physically meet each other, how do you chat to each
They're
other?
all
Like,
Zoom and online experts. I think that was one of the things, like here on the 12th of March, everything shut down, and all of. Sorry, Mag.
We all have shut down 2 days before everyone else.
But we were actually, Jen there can tell you, she was doing risk assessments for people coming back from China from January, because we have a lot have gone home for the Chinese New Year, and they were coming back. So again, I suppose we have been talking since January, how do we conduct home visits if you can't do them in-house? We were lucky that everybody had a phone, so we just went to the phones and we adapted home visiting to do calls. But the small groups actually, because people were struggling. They were struggling with IT, they were struggling with the pandemic, they were struggling because families were isolated, and there was no services then for people. So that's where the small groups came in to actually just put 3 or 4 together and just talk things through and support each other.
And it sounds like an answer to the morale.
But one thing, sorry.
Was just to finish up on our that we also get we also have a counselling service here as well, that we can have the 6 sessions throughout the year that we can go into there, and then we have our Sonia, who we wouldn't survive without our Sonia. Every 3 months or so we have self-care and health and well-being. Oh, it's great. So it's just bring us down and what have you. So that's also offered to us as well.
Brilliant.
So we do have that support, yeah.
Yeah. Michelle, do we have time for one more? Or?
Yeah. For the executive.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Take one more from this table. That's the last.
We went with like probably the most important question too. But I think the way you phrased it when you were talking was more, do you find that you're filling gaps?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it didn't come up like that there when I'm reading it again, but that was kind of what was originally said. So we were saying that what we find is that we're actually supporting the agencies rather than the other way around.
Okay.
And so the home visitor services are leading and initiating the metals, and with a little support from the structure itself. And home visitors working with systems designed, but the process is ultimately failing the family. So that when the process works, it works really well.
Yeah.
And when all the professionals are engaged and everybody does the part that they're supposed to do,
Yeah.
when it's all left up to one, it all falls apart.
Yeah.
The consistency within the two and metal, that's something that came up, like this consistency is expected when you're a home visitor, but the consistency then of the supports that follow from a metal.
I think question one is very important to go into as well.
Just on that one, I suppose because the home visitors are frontline, they have a consistent and permanent relationship with the families.
Yeah.
So if they're looking for the supports, and the supports are hard to get, be it disability, be it through mental, be it through whatever, then they're still left there face to face with the family. So, and it's an additional layer to their work as well, rather than kind of if imagine it's a nightmare as a coordinator. You've timetables people in, you've allocated cases, and they're visiting their families, but then they have to go and do mental meetings, then they have to go to interagency meetings, then they get called to this, then they get told to that. It's a whole expansion area of their work that's moved the programs into real service delivery settings. And so it's different than, the expectations are different, and yet they could be shoulder to shoulder with colleagues, and the pay and the terms and conditions, the remuneration, the security of tenure, all that is completely different, and yet they're the ones championing and leading the way. So it's very challenging space, really.
Yeah.
You know? And as the girls say, when things work well and everything falls into place, it's great for the families, it's great for the home visitors, but it can be a navigation nightmare sometimes.
Yeah.
Do you want to take the last one online?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
We take the last one online if somebody wants to put their hand up for the last comments.
How many groups were there online, Michelle?
7.
Okay.
We got 2.
Yeah. If there's anybody, anything we've forgotten, let me know.
They're all putting it in the chat and they know the chat is going. So, is there anyone online that would like to comment?
No,
yeah, that's okay. I will for group 6.
Group 6.
Group 6, question 5. Are there any other areas you would suggest we look at? Additional comments?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we put in parity of pay.
Yeah.
And rolling contracts.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, just in terms of the first question, I guess our response to that was, well, what's the definition of home visiting, which I know you're struggling with. So I guess we spent a lot of time with the Home Visiting Alliance trying to define what we consider to be home visiting. So, you know, being evidence-based, having structured supports, having infrastructure for scaling, being manualized, a standard level of service. But it's focused on child development and delivered through relationships built with families. So those, I guess for us, that allowed us to really to focus in. That's what we were talking about.
Yeah.
It's a huge environment. So I guess finding a way to come to that, to some level of understanding what's a standard definition of home visiting would be really great.
Yeah. And that's actually one of our very, very last tasks, to ask everybody if you can take a post-it, write down what you think a home visiting service is, and what you think your role as a home visitor is. Just write it down.
Just something quick, like.
And if everybody can do that and just stick it up on it.
For those online, you can put in the VBox app again into the additional comments, or you can put it into the chat function, and I know it's going to be transcribed afterwards, so we will get all of that information. And so all of your notes that you had in the breakout rooms, we will get all of that information. And please, my email address is there as well as the VBox. So please do get in contact.
Michelle, there's nobody with a burning thing online.
No, there's loads of comments coming through, but I told them that we passed them on because.
Sorry, can I just be a fly in the ointment and raise something? I'm thinking of the preschool year, I'm thinking of the infant classes and primary school, and I suppose what role, like education, you know, as far as I'm of a child, as far as I'm concerned, starts antenatally. As soon as conception.
Yeah.
You're working on it. So and that's having had 4 children. So I think, what's the role of the Department of Education?
For sure.
Do you know what I mean? And what role do they have is ensuring that children have the kind of social, emotional, literacy, numeracy, all those skills, such that they're starting school on a par with everybody else. And for us, when I think of when we started here, it was all about language, because we could see children's language maybe wasn't on a par in other areas. Then all B&Bs around the area and hotels became full of homelessness. And I suppose Lana's talking about it this evening, and I know Niall was involved as part of the Slipsea North, is around children not having the space literally to learn to crawl. So I think, you know, learning how that physical education in terms of babies is absolutely critical.
Absolutely.
You know, the whole cognitive development is also critical. And if it's not done early, sorry, Michelle.
No. I was just going to say that we just need to wrap it up online.
Yes.
And we could keep moving.
So can I just.
And there's also lunch downstairs.
They're not going to be able to get it, unfortunately.
To those online, thank you for engaging with us. And we will absolutely take every piece of information you've given us. We will have it, and we'll make it available to the Home Visiting Alliance as well. Thank you. My email address is there. The VBox app is there, and I know Sinead McGilloway sends her thanks as well. She's the lead PI on that, and Deirdre, who's obviously done her Cinderella. But thank you from all of us, from myself and Patrice, for engaging.
Sinead,
we want
So what is the role of a home visitor? What would you define a home visiting service as? And what would you define your role as a home visitor as?
Role of a home visitor and define a home visiting program.
So service and
I must
individual.
talk to you about your project.
Thank you, everyone. I'm going to stop our meeting now.
Lovely.
Okay.